everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Abuja. Let's get talking. Nigeria faces a series of challenges, but what is giving a lot of Nigerians concern is what has become a national embarrassment. It's about 155 days since February when the university lecturers first embarked on a warning strike. And since that time, the federal government has not shifted ground, and the lecturers are also blaming the federal government on not being considerate and not ready to listen to them. And so, some of the university classrooms have been shut indefinitely, and students have been sitting at home idle. As they say, the idle hand is a devil's workshop. But today, the president has spoken. But it doesn't look like the strike will end in 2 weeks, because the president said he's giving his minister 2 weeks to find out a proper solution and report back to him. That means we might have about 3 weeks or more before this crisis is resolved. Meanwhile, ASUU is saying they will not back down until the demands are met. We just hope that this national embarrassment will end. But then, these and some more we'll be discussing tonight. We'll be having the president of ASUU, the university lecturer, speak with us on tonight's program, and why Nigeria should be facing this kind of situation. Economic issues. You remember what the CBN did today, the NNPC meeting, and the state of the inflation and state of the economy, the prices of commodity, fuel queues that we see around the country. We'll be discussing how we can put an end to this unending ASUU strike. Plus, NNPC, new regime, what does it mean for Nigeria? Is it for a few or for all? We'll find out, and the implication of the NNPC Limited. Stay with me, everyone, but first and foremost, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The National Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says the Commission is working to build on the successes of the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections to deliver credible elections in 2023. Speaking during a courtesy visit by a delegation from the International Republic Institute and the National Democratic Institute, the chairman says the Commission has learned from each of its outings and improved on the issues raised, hence the recent successes it has recorded.
There is still a lot of work to do, and we assure you that we'll continue to work not only hard but even harder to deliver the 2023 general elections.
The Ogun State Governor Dakwa Abiodun has received aggrieved members of the APC loyal to former Governor Ibikunle Amusu, who left the party in the wake of the 2019 governorship election, and members of the Allied People's Movement back into the state chapter of the All Progressives Congress. Receiving the members at the ceremony held at the Presidential Lodge in Abeokuta, the state capital, the governor called for unity of purpose among party members to ensure a resounding victory for the party next year. The National Assembly today suspended plenary over the recent death of a lawmaker representing Ego Ikubauka Federal Constituency in Edo State, Honorable Judy Dehe. Until his death, the lawmaker was a member of the House of Representatives on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. Both chambers also observed a minute of silence to mourn the deceased before suspending plenary. The Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed says criminality has taken a new form in the state, and this new pattern is different from banditry. He describes the new method of attacks as daring and an affront on the government and the people of the state, as he directs the security agencies to investigate and act appropriately. Governor Mohammed was speaking when he visited Tudunwada and Boto villages in Tafawa Balewa local government area, where 3 people were killed by gunmen, including a nephew to former Governor Ahmed Muazu, following an attack on the family house, while 3 others were kidnapped.
There must be some prior information. I'm not a security man, but I'm a leader. The pattern of the crime is completely different from banditry.
And the leadership of the Trade Union Congress is mobilizing its members to vote for the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in the forthcoming general elections. Speaking at the opening of the union's delegate conference in Abuja, the TUC president, Comrade Quadri Olaleye, charges members to get their voters' card and play significant roles in electing the country's next president. The union also pledged its complete support for the Academic Staff Union of Universities, which has been on strike for almost 5 months. The governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, is adamant that the handwriting on the wall indicates a PDP victory ahead of next year's general elections. He insists that last Saturday's Osun governorship election is a clear statement of intent from the main opposition party.
The election of 2023 is PDP's to lose.
The Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, has been reacting to the incident where at least 10 youths were said to have been killed in Awomama community in Olu East local government area of the state. In a viral video circulated on social media, indigents of the community were seen conveying the dead bodies of the murdered youths to the market square in wheelbarrows. The indigents are accusing the Imo State local security outfit, Ebubagu, of wrongfully labeling the youths as bandits and killing them after attending a wedding ceremony in the area. Governor Hope Uzodinma, while briefing newsmen at the government house in Owerri after the weekly Security Council meeting, says contrary to the news making the rounds, the operation was carried out by men of the DSS who stormed a bandit hideout in the area following intelligence reports and were killed in the process of engaging the men of the DSS. The governor also debunked allegations of illegal detention of a 15-year-old girl in DSS custody. He says the government will not succumb to any form of campaign of calumny or blackmail in the course of fighting insecurity in the state.
15-year-old girl being impregnated by the Department of, which is a pure fallacy.
The governorship candidates of the People Democratic Party in Kano and Katsina states, Mohammed Abacha and Senator Denmark Ladu, today paid a visit to Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. The candidates arrived in company of some party chieftains and were received and taken into a closed-door meeting by Governor Wike at his private residence in Port Harcourt. After the meeting, the PDP governorship candidate in Katsina State, Senator Denmark Ladu, said the visit was to identify with the governor in the aftermath of their party's presidential primary. And an election monitoring group, a coalition of INEC-accredited foreign and domestic observers in the just concluded Osun State governorship election, has commended the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and security agencies for their unbiased conduct to all parties which participated in the election. The group gave the commendation in Osogbo at a press conference held to brief the media on what it observed before, during, and after the Osun State governorship election.
First in February, the university lecturers across the country came together and said it doesn't look like the federal government is serious in meeting their demands. So they began the first strike action. And when that was not done, they rolled it over. And later on in June, they now rolled it. It's now 155 days since the classrooms have been shut and students out of classrooms, our students not learning. They're sitting at home idle. The federal government looks as though confused with the state of affairs. The president in Dara said it's unfair what ASUU is doing to the nation and should think about the future of these children, or these students. Now, ASUU said it is the federal government that is inconsistent and insensitive to the demand. And in fact, what they are fighting for is about the good of the student and of the nation. Today, the president has given an ultimatum to the Minister of Education, asking him that in 2 weeks, he needs to propose a solution and come back to him. Now, he's meeting today with some ministers and heads of departments and etc. is coming several weeks after ASUU said that the federal government is not serious about meeting their demands, and so they will go on with the strike action. ASUU has also accused the federal government of not paying some of their members of that union. Where do we go from here? We describe it as a national embarrassment on this program because the nation does not care whose interest is met here. What we are concerned about is the interest of the larger Nigerian, of the nation at large. That is what we're concerned about. And whosoever needs to have fixed this thing needed to have done the work a long time ago, not to have allowed the classroom to be shut 155 days. Tonight, let's get to look at it. Does this ultimatum, will it work? Is it like any other order given by the president? What is ASUU saying? ASUU has held a press conference a few minutes ago here in Abuja, but tonight we have the president of ASUU, the Association of Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, the Union of the University Lecturers. Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke joins us live in our studio here. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us. Some of us are upset. Some of us are not happy. We cannot hide our feelings about what has become a disgrace to this nation. When other nations that are even smaller than ours hear the fact that ASUU began, some of us had felt the pain and the brunt of ASUU strike when we were in school. And years later, we're still seeing ASUU strike. It is a disgrace. Now, the federal government or the president said 2 weeks ultimatum. How does that come to your union?
Well, as a union, and we also look at history, look at past presidents, until the issue are resolved, I don't believe that this will not even make any difference. But this is not the first ultimatum given on this strike. Remember, when NIREC, Nigerian Interreligion Council, met with the president on the 1st of February, he also set up a 3-man committee to quickly resolve this issue within 1 month. And that was the Chief of Staff, Minister of Labor, and Minister of Education. February 1st, it is in your program. That committee didn't invite us for a meeting until we roll over the strike in May. That's where they invited us for a meeting. And we all went. They call it tripartite plus with NLC. NLC gave ultimatum, and they call a meeting. That committee called a meeting. And after we have finished discussing, we agreed that we will give the government 6 weeks. We agreed on 6 weeks, that within 6 weeks, we should resolve. We were thinking of 3 weeks, but the NIDA insisted on the 6 weeks. And that was on the 22nd of May. We're in July. We agreed on 6 weeks. That has expired. Nothing happened. Now another 12 days. Where we are, if we are serious, if we really want to resolve this problem, it should not take 2 days. And I will give you the reasons. All the issues have been discussed. Government negotiators have met with us. We have all of us a joint draft agreement for them to look at and come back to us and say sign. We are also waiting, and that happened on the 16th of June, more than a month ago. They have not come back. Does it take you 2 weeks to look at what you have negotiated? If there are issues, you go back to the committee and resolve them. Does it take you 2 weeks? That's 1 day.
The Professor Munzali Jibril committee,
yes.
Give proper solution. The simple solution.
In 2021.
Yeah.
2020, that was in May 2021.
21, yes.
We did the joint agreement to go back and get their permission to sign. It took 1 year when we started strike before they came back. 1 year. Should we take those periods if we are really serious? That is the problem. Because
the federal government will say that if ASUU is willing to yield, that they will end, the strike will end. That it was on you, and it was you. In fact, the president, you heard what the president said in Dora, that it was your union that is frustrating the process. Look, and your union should think about the future of this country.
Give me a little time to go to the background.
Absolutely.
You see, when people go to misinform the president, you get what he's saying. When people go to when the Minister of Labor go to misinform the president, you see what he's saying. Let me give you the reasons. This negotiation started in March 2017. That's when we started. When we were agitated over a long time, the government agreed that it will set up their panel in March 2022, headed by Dr. Wale Babalakin. Yeah. And that took more than 2 years to enrolling, to insist that a student must pay school fees of 1 million. How can the student of Nigeria win minimum wage? Nobody end up to $1 million. More than 50% up to $1 million will pay school for 1 million. And you know, it had problem in Unilag and it was removed. And in 2020, Musali Jubilee Committee was set up by the government again after our agitation. And Musali Committee also reached an agreement with us. They were to go back. Instead of looking at the issues, they look at the person. They started abusing that Musali Jubilee, a renowned professor. So they have a chairman, executive secretary of ES early long ago. So they are abusing the person rather than the issue. The same Minister of Labor. Now they say it's bad. They removed it and brought the BRICS committee. BRICS committee said, for the first time they told us, give us some time. I want to consult with all these ministers and MDAs. They met with Salary and Wages Commission, Minister of Labor, Budget and Finance. They told us, and they gave us their report and gave us. We now say, go back and get government minimum position and bring back to us. And they went back. And within 2 weeks, they came back and said, and we had the write-up saying government position on all the issues, which we accepted. And I give you this. And we can challenge them. We'll show them the document. What they gave us is what he accepted with minor corrections. The minor correction we will look at was, as academic staff, as an academic staff, if you apply a young graduate as a graduate assistant on level 8, on level 7 US, he cannot be promoted beyond that rank until he gets a master's. Therefore, he must use him. If you can't get the funding, which the nation is not funding again, he has to use the money to do a master's program before he can move to the next level. When you get your master's, for you to move to a senior lecturer, you must get a PhD. You have to also use your salary to do your PhD and do publication, because without adequate publication in world journals, not in Nigerian local journals, you cannot go to a senior lecturer. And when you go to a senior lecturer, for you to move the next level, you must have a lot of publication on high impact journal, and you must supervise a large number of PhD and MSc before you can move to the next level. So, which means that part of that salary you are paying us is for, we call it work tools, to do your research and what have you. And we are saying you cannot tax research, tools for research. With the insisting, that's what we disagree with them.
That you are going to tax whatever you
are giving to me for my research. You tax it. Is
that what is operational in other sectors?
No. That's what PC is doing to us now. That's why a professor now earn less than a new professor earn less than 300,000. That is why that's what a PC is doing. You are taxing everybody. You're working tools material. You're taxing a lot.
Let me ask you, Prof.
Yes.
Compared to other profession.
Yes.
What is an average salary of a professor?
The average salary of a professor, the average, a professor at the bar today is about 400,000 a month.
Averagely?
That's the highest rank after you have spent about 10 years as professor. When you are starting is about 300,000 as professor. At the end, you earn 400,000. That is it. But we compare it to other area. That high impact area, the most high impact area in the whole world is academics, not NNPC. Not central bank. It's academics. Where you take your best brain to, those who make first class. For you to be a lecturer, you must be a second class upper. That's your best brain, and that's what they look at in the world. But in this country, and when you look at our history, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the only people, public servant that earn more than the professor is the Chief Justice of the Federation. A professor earn more than the minister, earn more than the permanent secretary. You can check the record.
But in Nigeria, it is different.
I'm not even in Nigeria. I'm talking of Nigeria in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s.
No, I'm saying Nigeria
but today, they have been relegated. They don't even earn anything. Check what the senator earns.
So that is what you're fighting for.
That is one of the things
you're fighting for. That the pay of the lecturers need to be looked into. And the working tools also need to be looked into.
We're not even talking about Nigerian system. University universal. When you go to Ghana, University of Ghana, any of them, you see Nigerians working there. You see people Asian working there, Indian working there. In Nigeria, like I said, in system where we're being paid, well paid. When you go to Nigerian university, you see Europeans, people from Europe, from America, working in Nigerian university, because there was pay parity. But today they have all left. Even Ghana used to be here. They have left. So when you are comparing salary of a lecturer in Nigeria, in the whole world, you look at the world. We're looking at African average. You look at least, the minimum you can take is African average, so that African student can come here, African lecturer can come here, the way we are going out. But today, you don't see any African coming to Nigerian universities.
But where have you come to on that agreement on the pay parity?
They have brought something that at least that will increase what you are earning today. That at least if you cannot attract lecturer from outside, you can attract your first class to look at university as a where to teach, rather than going to the banks or go to the NNPC. And that was the idea in those days. If you have a first class, no company will take you. You want to work in the university. So that's one. And two, to ensure that those who are already on ground, I can tell you, look at the history. As we are speaking now, there is no year we don't lose 400 to 500 lecturers going abroad. We call it brain drain. And none is coming. So we are losing, just like the doctors. The doctors are leaving. And none is coming in. Which means you use your money to train your doctor here, he leaves the country. The nation is missing. You train your academics and leave the country to another country where they know the value of education. So that is where that's what we are. That's number one. Number two is the payment procedure, the payment platform. We have challenged this government that name one country in the world, just anywhere in the world, where the salaries of lecturers are paid from the office of Accountant General. We said name one. You know the implication? Very heavy. This month, and they are doing it deliberately, this month your salary is cut. You cannot get it back. You have to go to Abuja. So you have a lecturer in Sokoto who earns 200,000 a month, 100,000 a month. They cut his salary. He has to come to Abuja, pay his airfare, pay for accommodation just to correct your pay problem. And then explain with their peace. As I'm speaking to the federal government, told the whole world when we said the strike that they have consequential adjustment of minimum wage. That was 2019. That they have paid to all the workers in Nigerian university while we were on strike, and we're praising him. So but I was speaking to you, all the universities of agriculture, nobody have been paid a dime.
Up to now.
Till now, and the payment was made in May. Till now, they have not paid anybody in universities of agriculture. In universities where they pay, they selectively pay people. Pay some here, left some, pay this, left some, pay some half, even pay some double, which they are collecting back. I mean, so that is the crisis with our people. Say, this thing cannot work.
So some of your colleagues are already saying they are going to back up from the strike and resume work.
There's none. They should name them.
Some of your colleagues in the medical...
Yes, name them.
Yeah, I've just named for you.
Which university?
Some of the... I don't know the university right now, but some of them in the medical sector.
If you see the Minister of Labour, say Udus, the last time it was Channel, or TVC, that University of Usman Afodo, that they have left. But those people have responded that it's not true. It's lies. Two.
So you are still all together?
Look, let me tell you.
I'm asking, Prof. All the unions are still all together.
We are together.
And what is your stand today?
Our stand today is that this system has to change. It changes in such a way that we get to a stage where the children of a school teacher, the children of a driver, or photographer, and what have you, will enter the classroom and sit the next thing to the child of a minister, to the child of a government. In the same classroom in a Nigerian university, you go to the hostel, a child of Oshibaloye will sit with the child of a president in the same hostel, sleep on the same bed. That is our own idea. What we are having is a class struggle, and we should know it. You have a group who ensure that their children, with our own resources, are paid, go to good environment, good hostels, good classroom, where you sit down, you have access to your laboratory equipment, everything, and then you left the other one to rot in so that the children of the ordinary people, who form about 90%, will just be there. Whether you take a lecture from windows, sitting on bare floor, and what have you, so that when those people come back to this country, those their children come back with good education, they took the juicy job.
So now, the IPs and the conflict with UTAS,
yes.
Where are you at? How many percentage? And is the federal government willing to accept the UTAS? And that is the payment platform that the university lecturers have developed themselves. Yes. As against IPs where the federal government
in a normal climb, we should not be talking about percentage. But for the first time we were doing, it scored 77. We didn't do well. We did the second one, it scored 99.3. And we shouldn't be talking about percentage. When this COVID started, it's countries who were serious called their academics and say, look for solution for us. And after they tested over a period of time, and then they implemented, is it not? The same thing. When we have a country like Nigeria, with the intellectual you have, people like you, intellectuals, and you want to determine how you want to pay your worker's salary, and you have to go abroad and pay a country, some people a company in dollars to tell you how to pay their worker's salary. It's slavery.
You are referring to IPs.
Yes, it's slavery. And they brought this so-called solution. It's slavery.
So now your grievance about IPs is the fact that it doesn't aggregate your payment properly.
That is one.
And I mean, it aggregates it like a normal civil servant.
Good, that is number one.
That is your grievance.
But our major issue is that the university system is an autonomous body. The president, who is the visitor, appoint a team, not a governing council, to run the affair. And the law is very clear that it is the council that runs the finances of the university. So you want the accountant general to hand off the finances of the university? Let me finish. Is that the picture? Let me put it properly. So, and that any circular from the ministry, as far as university is concerned, it's in the law. The University Miscellaneous Act is void. That is the language, is void. And what is the idea? The university runs, it's autonomous, but it runs its finances by a body set up by the president. In the civil service, there's no such body, a governing council in university, is it there? So that you can have areas of check. The university will go to the budget office and present its budget, say this is what we are going to spend next year. The budget office look at it, and that next year we are going to recruit 10 people. The budget look at it and approve that money for the university. That budget now go to National Assembly of individual university, to National Assembly. National Assembly will look at the budget, you come and defend it and say, 50 billion or 1 billion have been released for you to run your affair for 1 year. Are you following? And university come down and plan how to run that, spend that money. And every 5 years, The visitors want to send a panel to go and check if that money go to the university was properly used. That time there were checks. If a lecturer was not properly paid this month, he goes to his bursary, he made the issue, the next month is corrected because it's within. You don't have to go to Abuja or anywhere. But what do you have today? There's no more checks. As we come today, that is the crisis in Nigeria today. And thank God, recently the EFCC arrested the man who is running that money for allegedly he misappropriated 90 billion. No more checks. Those checks from the vice chancellor to the governing council, from the governing council to the budget office, from budget office to the National Assembly, and you come out, it's no more there. Now let one man sit down and pay everybody, and you can see the corruption that has arisen. And that's where we are. Those checks that were there in those days that will tell a VC who to employ, who not to employ, the number to employ is no more there. So we have opened this university to external interferences that the university today, go and check, go to the university. What the pride we have in those days, the culture that a vice chancellor should be in those days, we call it ivory tower, above the ordinary tower, have been taken over by the government. If VC want to employ somebody, run to head of service to say, I want you just travel abroad and saw a beautiful Nigerian who have a PhD, a professor in a very essential area, and you want to employ him. He goes to a cathedral general to beg to give you permission. By the time you do that, he has left. He said, you're not a serious country. That is how they have reduced our university.
Now, so with all of these grievances and demands,
yes,
and the federal government, the president has given 2 weeks ultimatum, yes, for these to be resolved. Yes. Do you think it is possible to resolve this in 2 weeks?
2 weeks is too long.
You think the problem is on the table of the Minister of Education?
The issue of renegotiation has been completed by both sides. With me, that one is gone. Issue of salary, issue of renegotiation, issue of funding.
So what is stopping it?
Good. That is, with that, to just come back to us and say, we have agreed, sign. That should not take 2 days.
Do you think the federal government does not have the money?
You see, my brother, let me tell you the way you are today. If you have a crisis in your house, you will source for money to resolve that crisis. If you have a crisis in you have source of money. The way that you are sourcing for money to do all sorts of things today, we are told that they spend billions to feed children in school. Is it correct? How many children have you seen being fed? This say we are giving this thing for, what do you call it? Management of, what do you call it? This is their program in Ministry of Finance. They are released just 200 billion. What do you call it? Entrepreneur or something. 200 billion. Your university are closed for Simon. You didn't release 1 billion. 200 billion. But you release money to go to say, because the election is coming. You want to go at 10,000 in this village, 5,000. It is the priority that you place on education. When you check the world today, go to Ghana. Ghana today, they were here, we want to say Ghana must go, but now they are telling us that Nigeria must go. Why? Because they funded their education. In Ghana, they give between 16 and 20% of their budget to education on a yearly basis. In South Africa, it's the same thing. You can check. And that's why today, Nigerians spend no less than 200 billion to pay to Ghana University, 200 billion every year as school fees to Ghana University.
Nigerians?
Nigerians, yes. So that is our problem.
So where do we go from here, Prof?
It's very easy. Government should prioritize education as #1 priority in the country, because all of us here, whether you are in the ministry of wherever you must pass through the school. And now that you have killed it, we are now wasting our money on foreign countries. Last year, as CBN, that Nigeria spent 1.6 trillion as school fees to other countries in the world. 1.6 trillion would turn around all the universities in Nigeria and bring it to standard where people will come from outside. So we go outside, nobody comes in.
So from your own end, yes, you don't have a problem.
On our side, we have on the issue of UTAS.
In the next 1 hour, if the federal government comes and you sign, you will go back to the classroom.
On UTAS, we have finished the test. The third time we are testing, and we passed. But I know they will come out to nobody and say, the report we have. The last time we went to meet with the chief of staff, they came there and said it failed. But we now brought the evidence we have to show that we scored 93%. And gave a copy to the chief of staff. And they couldn't talk again. So what we are saying, look.
Are there people benefiting from this from this whole thing?
Definitely. That's the problem.
What is their benefit for schools to be shut?
Let me tell you, let me use, for example, the issue of UTAS and IPs. Beneficiary. Every year, Nigerian pays on behalf of each staff in Nigeria, we pay in dollar to a foreign company.
To run the platform?
To run the platform. Every year, we pay in dollar to a company on each person, not as a collective. to eat. That's why they are struggling to put more people. The more people you put in, the more you make for those companies. And when you check those companies, you are sure some big Nigerians have interest in those companies. Go and check.
So that's one of the problems.
That's one of the problems.
I mean, do you think that the Minister of Education could play a very major role in this?
Good. Two, let me also give you the third reason. This strike that university has shut down. Those who run affairs of Nigeria, those who run the affairs, National Assembly, executive arm, this thing, they don't have any problem. Their children are not here. Their families are not here. If they were here, if the children of all the ministers, children of all the senators are all in our public university, this strike will not last 2 days. I'll give you an example. When the aviation people wanted to shut down the country, National Assembly called them immediately and settled them quickly overnight. Because they all fly, they cannot, because fear will not allow them to pass through again. They fly, they quickly resolve it. But universities are closed.
But the Minister of Labour says his children are in public schools.
Yeah, go and check.
So, I mean, you are ready to go back to the classroom.
I am very unhappy because I love my children. I love my students. I like teaching. I love teaching.
So,
and I want to teach.
The ball is in the court of the federal government.
Completely.
Do you think that the federal government is sincere enough?
Nigeria should tell them that for the first time, you see, that for the first time, let's see how we can bring our university to how it was in 1970, how it was in 1980s, how it was in 1960s. We should bring our university back to that level. When I was a student in Rivers State University of Science and Technology then, my department, there were 5 foreign lecturers teaching the department. Somebody from Poland, was Lognatan. Somebody from Sierra Leone, Sutton. Somebody from Poland. Somebody from Ethiopia, Argentina, and Nigeria. 5 in one department. But today, you will not see any university will have 5 foreign lecturers. And I'll give you the reason. The average lecturer pay in Nigeria, average professor, is between $600 and $690 a month. $600 and $690 a month. In South Africa, the minimum professor earned $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
All right. Prof, we need to close now. And Nigerians are really upset about it. I know spoken with a lot of Nigerians who are not happy. Nobody will be happy when you have a country where university classrooms are being shut for 150 days plus. Now, the question is, Prof, you stand up from here today. Are you giving Nigerians your commitment that as far as your union is concerned, you'll be sincere and you ensure that you do whatever in your powers to end the strike?
If we are not sincere, if we are not people who are committed, we would have abandoned this struggle. And if you know what will happen? In the next 2 or 3 years, Nigerian universities will be like our primary and secondary public. Are they still existing? They will head the average lecturer in the university.
So you're sincere about it? Nigerians should hold in trust.
If we are not sincere, we will not be holding, government will be holding our 5-month salary and we are still on strike, looking for how to raise money for our children.
So you are looking at the future?
If we are, yes. If we are not sincere, we would have gone back.
So we are holding you to in trust, isn't it?
The government should change our system. My challenge, and I want to plead with the president. I want to plead with him on behalf of Nigerian children who cannot afford it, that the legacy he should leave behind this country is that he transformed Nigerian educational system. All right. I can do it with this our struggle.
You don't need 2 weeks to do it.
It doesn't need 2 weeks.
Thank you so much, Professor Emmanuel Osudeke.
Thank you.
The president of the Association of Start of University. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you very much.
We'll take a break, everyone. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the NNPC, which is now gone commercial, off the hands and control of the government. Senator Albert Bassi and Alhaji Yabaji Sani will be joining me to dissect this issue as it was unveiled. The new regime at the NNPC. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. So today, there was an unveiling by President Muhammadu Buhari, and it's about the NNPC. Don't forget, when the law was signed to liberalize or make the NNPC go commercial, a lot of Nigerians were talking that was the right thing to do. But it looks so much that that move has been set in motion. And today, officially, some will say that the NNPC will not remit to the TSA. What does this mean for our culture? I mean, the oil and gas system, and what is in it for Nigerians? Let's take a listen to what President Muhammadu Buhari said at the unveiling.
the provision of PIA 2021 have given the Nigerian petroleum industry a new impetus with improved fiscal framework, transparent governance, enhanced regulation, and the creation of a commercially driven and independent national oil company that will operate without relying on government funding and free from institutional regulations such as the Treasury Single Account, Public Procurement and Fiscal Responsibility Acts. It will, of course, conduct itself under the best international business practices in transparency, governance, and commercial viability. It is therefore my singular honor and privilege on this historic day of 19th of July 2022 to unveil the NNPC Limited with focus on becoming a dynamic global energy company of choice to deliver energy for today, for tomorrow, for the day and days after tomorrow.
That is President Muhammadu Buhari. Today and tomorrow, providing energy Nigeria needs. The question is the energy even there? Our refineries, are they working? There are a few queues in major cities of the country. There is disparity in the price of commodities in the northern region of the country and the southern region of the country. I mean, for a nation that produces as much as we produce, and we're seeing the administration of such products, kerosene, aviation fuel, there are crises everywhere. So where do we go from here? This new regime, is it for the betterment of the average Nigerian or for a few? I'm being joined by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Oil Downstream, isn't it? Petroleum Upstream, Senator Akpan Basi joins us live in our studio, and a former employee of the NNPC, Alhaji Yabaji Sani, who is also a presidential candidate and the national chairman of the ADP. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
Senator, let me begin with you.
Yes.
You are one of your colleagues passed the PIA. Now, is it the dream that some of you and your colleagues had?
Well, let me thank you for having me. I believe that this was part of the agenda we had in the 9th National Assembly when we came in 2019. I mean, to break the jinx of a bill that has been lingering or have been in the pipeline of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria in the last 20 years. So we gave this target to ourselves, and I'm very privileged to be a major party in the making of this bill. And I believe that other countries will be very desirous of a more effective, a better run NNPC, and then being the main promoter of the country's oil and gas industry. So I believe that I must give kudos really to Mr. President and our colleagues in the National Assembly, and I must also say that this is one of the products of the collaboration and the cooperation between the executive and the parliament. And we're very excited, and we believe and we trust that the vision of the passage of this bill will be realized in the oil and gas industry within the shortest possible time, of course, which is a better run NNPC Limited.
So when we say better run, some people will make comparison to Aramco. It's state run, and it's probably one of the most fruitful enterprise when it comes to oil and gas all over the world. There are people who will argue that now that is off the hands of the daily running of government, government is not going to budget or give money to NNPC. In simple terms, can you tell Nigerians the implication? Now, NNPC will not get budget from Nigeria, will not put money into TSA. The only thing is that at the end of the year, they will remit profit. Is it? Is that the case?
Of course, NNPC is not a fully owned Kama company, the Company and Allied Matters Act. And of course, they are subjected to regulatory oversight NNPC is now run like any other limited liability company, and of course, he must work to make profit and pay dividends and make profit for his pay dividends to his shareholders.
It will be run like MTN,
it's subjected to subjected to every
it's not owned by Nigeria again.
It's owned by the country. We are the shareholders. You and I are the shareholders. But of course, the shareholders are being represented by the board, and of course, the board oversights the management of NNPC. So it's now strictly run.
What is in it for Nigerians?
A better profit for Nigeria, a better run NNPC, a better oil and gas industry, because that's the habitat. NNPC is the habitat that they go between our country and the global oil and gas industry. So we believe a more transparent, a more effective NNPC that will make better money, better returns to its shareholders.
Let me speak with one that has worked at the end salaries and worked in that system. You know that system very well. Do you think this is a better deal for Nigerians?
Not at all. Not at all.
Why do you say so?
Very, very far from the reality. What you saw today is, to me, really is what happened in the PIA, when the PIA was passed. Nigeria was swindled. That was the greatest swindle we can ever find, of the century against Nigeria. Because PIA came on the premise of accountability, transparency, and good governance. Accountability, transparency, and good governance would mean that when you have a system, there should be checks and balances in the operations of that organization. That was thrown out deliberately. And even when I had a cause to tell the senators at that point in time that this is inimical to our country, you do not change things and make it more opaque than it was before. That bill that went to Mr. President to sign, it's not what it should be. And the information was made available to senators.
So when you say that there's no transparency,
there's no transparency
aspect of it?
In the aspect of it's against even the principles of civil service that says no agency, no government agency can start a business transaction and end it without another agency of government coming to check what is happening.
But it's no longer an agency of government.
No, I'm talking about even the premises on which we are talking about, where NNPCL emerged. That's what I'm talking about. That premises is faulty. And the information was made known to the senators. It's not that they didn't know. So the point I'm trying to make, NNPCL, like the distinguished senator here was saying, that it doesn't belong to Nigerians. It belongs to Federal Ministry of Finance Incorporated and the Nigerian Treasury. Where is Nigeria there? Where is the checks and balances? The board you have is a political board. The staff you have are the same staff. Nothing has changed.
So you think there is a fraud there?
There is. Maybe not intended. Mr. President may not intend that.
So some people might be benefiting in the corner that Nigerians are not.
It has been entrenched. That benefit has been entrenched by what happened by NNPC.
Because the people. The big question is that we were all agitating for the Petroleum Industry Act bill to be passed.
Exactly.
And because that we felt that the industry, there's a lot of fraud in the industry.
To the extent that the operations of that organization and even NNPCL depends on the regulatory agencies that are going to monitor the civil senators' oversight, function, which is the upstream. The upstream today is the most disorganized. You talk about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has a system that monitors everything that happens from the wellheads to the terminals. We don't have deliberately. We don't even know where to measure production in this country.
Is it one of
anybody's guess?
Is it one of the reasons why they sold bad fuel into the animals?
Exactly. The regulatory agency put in place is a fake agency, because what should have been done was not done. Right. How could you get bad fuel to pass through regulatory agencies that had just been put in place and supposed to be the most efficient?
Up until now, I'm not sure anybody has been held accountable for that.
Is it only that one? 80% of our revenue was stolen.
Let me allow.
Officially, government came out to tell us that 80% of our revenue from oil is being stolen. Who has been taken before the court?
Let me allow the senator to respond.
Well, I think as a lawmaker, I am driven by the passion to serve my country, patriotism. And I believe that it is a function of the National Assembly to make laws. It is the executive to implement the laws and judiciary to interpret the laws. And of course, it is clearly stated under part 5 of the governance aspect section of the PIA that the shares of NNPC is being held by both the Ministry of Finance Incorporated and the Ministry of Petroleum Incorporated in equal proportion on behalf of the Federation. And of course, the law also goes a long way to define what a federation means. It means the federal, the states, and the local governments. For all we care, we believe that it is the definition and interpretation of the law that makes a better sense. For me, I think the unveiling of the NNPC today, brings it to a landmark. The transition, the full transition from NNPC corporation under the federal government, in quotes, into NNPC Limited, a limited liability company under CAMA. So I believe that
there are a few things that he mentioned,
yes,
which I would like you to.
Yes.
That the transition
yes,
was fraudulent. It wasn't properly done. Isn't that what he said?
That's what I'm saying. Because the intention is that NNPCL was going to operate under CAMA, isn't it?
Yes.
That is not the case today. An average Nigerian does not have any share, any kobo in that NNPC.
Well, it's against what the senator says.
Of course,
is it true that Nigerians
that's another government agency.
Senator, is it true that an average Nigerian doesn't have any share in NNPC?
NNPC is owned by over 200 million Nigerians, including you and I and himself.
Represented by who? Represented by who?
Represented by two entities.
Who are government?
They are government agencies. Excuse me, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated and the Ministry of Petroleum Incorporated. And there are timelines that over time, the shares of NNPC will be sold eventually.
So let's look at it. I
yes.
mean, if this is going to be run like a private organization, what are the projections that, for profit's sake, that NNPC Limited is supposed to bring into the coffers of the Federation?
Of course, as a limited company, working in the oil and gas industry, just like you look at the Chevron or the Total, for example, they will pay revenue, royalty, and taxes to government. And for me, I still believe very strongly that anything worth doing is worth doing well. It is better to trade on the side of caution. But we have put in place the law.
This template, Senator, that is being applied in Nigeria.
Yes.
In which other part of the world is this employed?
When we're setting up these laws, we had the opportunity of visiting other aspects of everywhere in the world. I did. I was a part of this team. And we also looked at what is happening in the Aramco that he's talking about. Started like this. Now that NNPC has become a limited liability company, the onus is on the NNPC to meet the yearnings and the aspirations of the shareholders in Nigeria.
So for a lot of Nigerians are not very savvy with the technicalities of the jargons of the industry. So let's break it down. Now, we say that we are not a nation that is lacking in the natural resource of oil and gas.
That's right.
We have in abundance under the ground, but we still have few queues. That is what concerns an average Nigerian that spends 6-7 hours in few queues where they're supposed to spend in profitable things. Now, are you saying that with this endeavor, we will have a reduced or no fair queues in Nigeria any longer?
All I'm saying is that I wish we had taken this stance 5, 6, 7 years ago. We will not be telling the stories that we are telling today. Because I can tell you for free. Why are people lackadaisical about NNPC?
No, I'm asking the question, Senator.
Yes.
The benefit for an average Nigerian, if you do anything in government and it doesn't benefit the average Nigerian, not the big man in the office wearing kaftan and wearing suits in the big SUVs. We're talking about that man that may not have the opportunity of buying more than a little Camry, and he still stays on the field for several hours. Will that end with this endeavor? Does that benefit an average Nigerian to that extent?
I believe very strongly that the National Assembly will be driven by the passion to satisfy the yearnings, the expectations of Nigerians. That's why we came up with this.
So we cannot hope that fair queues will go?
It will go. It will go. It's about operations. And I believe that, of course, you know why we have the fair queues. We have no refining capacity within the country. All our fuel comes from within the region of Russia and Ukraine. And I'm not here to defend NNPC. I'm here to speak for the average Nigerians, and I believe very strongly that I see better days ahead of us.
Yes. We're talking to you because we are holding you accountable. You are the vote of Nigerians. You are representing Nigerians in the National Assembly.
Sure.
You and your colleagues were the one who cooked up the law that now transferred what Nigeria owned and gave it into the hands of the private sector to now run. So that's the question we're asking tonight. Now, what benefit does it have to Nigeria? Let me allow you, Alhaji Abagisani, to respond.
The point I'm making is that, you know, it's just motion, no movement. I'm telling you, because the same people that were managing this same enterprise, this same organization, are the same people, from the board to the CEO to the man, you know, that the last man you have in that organization, the same ones that we have been complaining about, that corruption and the bribery and everything is so rampant in that sector.
So you think corruption will go on with
it? Will. What has changed? You talk about Minister of Finance Incorporated. Who is the head of Minister of Finance Incorporated? The minister, isn't it? If I need a job, all I need to do is talk to the minister. So talk to the CEO, because
what's the essence of? Well,
that's exactly what I'm saying. Rent seeking will still go on in this environment.
What should they have done?
Come on, let them operate like he says, like he says. Let them. Why rush it? Is it because elections are coming or something like that to deceive Nigerians more? You know, we cannot even meet our OPEC quotas in the first instance. And look at what is that. Look at the queues we are talking about. How more irresponsible can we be? That you have 4 refineries, not one is working, and you say you are transferring NNPCL. What is that? That is deceiving Nigeria.
If you have the powers to do something differently, what would you do?
We will ensure that this country is run on the basis of fiscal policy that anybody can see transparently. Monetary policy should work, not a central bank now chasing agriculture, industries, and what have you, that has no business, and leaving our foreign exchange to become like a yo-yo. You know, we will not do that. This country is the easiest country to run.
So are you saying that the president made a blunder in allowing this to happen?
I think it is, because I have not seen anything that has changed. It's still the government, rent seekers will still operate in this environment. If I need a job, if I need somebody to get a job, talk to the minister.
So Nigerians
he will talk to them. And if, of course, nepotism, whatever you call it, will still thrive. Everything that you don't want, will still thrive. Who will employ the consultants or anybody? Who will give the jobs? It is still the government-employed people. Government-appointed military, government-appointed the Prime Minister of Finance, government-appointed everybody that you are talking about. And you say it's a private organization. How does it become privatized? Please, we should stop deceiving each other.
Well, for me, Alhaji Sani, I'm not here to sell my manifesto or to tell the world what I intend to do. We are here to talk about the essence, the objective, and the desire of the new NNPC Limited. And I'm here to tell Nigerians that I'm here to represent Nigerians. I'm here to tell Nigerians that now that we have been thrown an NNPC Limited that is subject to all forms of regulatory oversight, including National Assembly, that we should allow NNPC to work and see how it means. Let us see how best we can achieve better results. And like I said earlier, if we had taken this position about 10 years ago, and allow NNPC to run the way it should be run. And I believe that by now the story would have been different.
Yeah, Senator, sorry, we need to wrap up now.
NNPC was commercialized.
Yeah, we need to wrap up now. Nigeria is still paying subsidy. And the fact remains that our refineries are not working. I mean, Dangote refinery will come on stream very soon. Thank God for that. That will happen. Now, the big question here is, and the question that I've asked like 3-4 times, the benefit for Nigeria. Because for several times, the NNPC is unable to remit into the national account. These are some of the issues that are being raised. So will it be better now? What difference should we be expecting on the final note?
Well, for me, I believe that the law as it passed also subjects NNPC as a supplier of last resort for national security purposes, which means that every loss that is incurred through the instrumentality of supplies of fuel also into the economy to stabilize the polity must be absorbed by the federation account. And I believe that's really essence why NNPC sometimes says we are unable to pay money into federation account, because the gap between the import price and the sales price at the pump price.
Because Nigeria depends. Nigeria depends majorly. Senator, Nigeria depends majorly on the revenue from oil. Will there be more efficiency? Are we going to see more revenue?
I expect to see more revenue, more effectiveness, more efficiency, and a better run national oil company.
Do you agree that will happen?
I disagree completely, because that is not what we are saying. From the beginning of this process, from the PIA to where we are today,
so the structure is not guaranteed.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
All right.
It's a wrong premise that we are.
Nigerians are watching.
Yes.
Anything that is not in the benefit of this country, I don't think public office holders should do it. Nigerians will be watching. And accountability and transparency we would like to see. Thank you so much, Senator Albert Bassi. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And Alhaji Abajisani, thank you indeed for your thought. And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.